Throughout much of its history, the Roman Empire was host to a remarkably diverse religious tapestry. During the same time that a young Jewish sect from the Near East was morphing into a natal version of Christianity and spreading across the empire, Roman subjects worshipped gods from across the world, from their own Greco-Latin gods like Jupiter and Minerva to Egyptian gods like Isis. Jesus Christ, as we all know, was fated to surpass all these gods. However, there was one other faith that, for a time, competed toe-to-toe with Christianity during the former's rise to prominence. That religion was Mithraism, an elusive mystery religion that worshipped the titular Mithras, a god with origins in far-off Persia, featuring strict hierarchies on initiation and fascinating iconography with allusions to the stars. At the height of its popularity, shrines to Mithras blanketed the vast Roman Empire. Yet the religion that was once observed from Syria to Germany has vanished into the mists of time, leaving historians shrouded in mystery. What was Mithraism, and what secrets did it hide? In this video, we will explore just that, diving into the history, rituals, and practices of ancient Rome's most intriguing mystery cult.
Every week, we release 3 new exclusive videos for our members and patrons. The Pacific War, the Eastern Front of World War II Prelude, and many other series, including the War of Spanish Succession, Punic Wars, Iberian Reconquista, Russian Revolution and Civil War, North African and Italian campaigns of World War II, and much more. It has been long overdue, but we have finally created a YouTube channel exclusively for our Kings and Generals podcasts. Please go and check out Kings and Generals podcast, home to the Pacific War Week by Week podcast and the Fall and Rise of China podcast, link in the description and pinned comment. To see those, as well as get access to our exclusive Discord, see our schedule, and get early access to all videos, join the ranks of our patrons and YouTube members via the links in the description and pinned comment. Thanks to our supporters for allowing us to continue doing our dream job.
Before we begin, we must understand that Mithraism is categorized as a mystery religion. Mithraism, alongside various other cults that existed in ancient Rome during its lifespan, was known as a mystery religion by modern scholars because they were secretive, closed groups which utilized initiation rituals and cryptic teachings to guard their cult's knowledge from the uninitiated. This presents a problem for the enterprising historian or archaeologist, for much of Mithraism's history, beliefs, and practices are now lost forever due to this secrecy. In addition, the written records of Mithraism that survive come from early Christian writers, who considered the Mithras worshippers to be doctrinal rivals, making their testimony unreliable. Our modern understanding of Mithraism is further muddied by the work of 19th century historians, who wrote about the religion and popularized myths about it with no proof. An example of this is the now popular urban legend that the story of Jesus copied elements of the Mithras tale, such as that Jesus' birthday on what is now Christmas Day of December 25th was stolen from Mithras, or that Jesus, being the product of a virgin birth, was also taken from Mithras. Neither of these claims are true, for iconography from Mithraic shrines shows Mithras being born from a rock, and his supposed birthday is unknown. In short, modern historians have little information about Mithraism left to us by the Mithras worshippers themselves, and an abundance of biased or straight-up false information about the religion to sift through. Having put out that disclaimer, let us now get to the main aspect of Mithraism, the god Mithras himself. The name Mithras originates in ancient Persia, where he appears as one of the Yazatas, or emanations, of the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda. During the Achaemenid and Parthian periods of Persian history, Mithras likely took on the characteristics of a dawn or solar deity who protected oaths and justice. He appears in some cave imagery in shrines in Persia, and also has his own hymns. Many 19th and early 20th century scholars of Manichaeism believed that worship of Mithras spread to the Greek peoples after Alexander the Great conquered much of the Persian Empire, and subsequently spread into the Roman world after Rome conquered the Anatolian Peninsula and the Near East. This view is no longer held by modern scholars, who question if the Roman god Mithras shares a common origin with the Persian god Mithras at all. For instance, The Roman Mithras is often surrounded by astrological imagery, a visual motif not seen for the Persian Mithras. While no clear consensus exists on the origins of the cult, the common view today is that Mithraism is a Roman creation. The name Mithras likely is Persian, and he often appears wearing a Phrygian cap from Anatolia. However, these patterns may have more to do with a Roman pattern of adopting elements of Oriental gods due to their supposed exoticism. Other gods who went through this process of adoption into Roman popular religion through hybridization are the Anatolian goddess Cybele and the Egyptian gods Osiris and Isis, all three of whom found smashing success all over the Roman Empire. Mithras himself did not go through this process, but his name was adopted for the same reasons. Thus, Mithras is not necessarily an import, but a product of Roman religious cosmopolitanism, taking in foreign elements and reinventing them. Having now explored the identity of Mithras, let us now tackle the mysterious origins of his religion and how it spread throughout the Roman world. While Mithraism was most probably not imported into Rome from Persia via Anatolia, the likeliest origins of the faith may still stem from there. During the 1st century CE, the Iranian deity Mithras was worshipped in the small but wealthy kingdom of Kommagene, syncretized with the Greek sun gods Apollo and Helios. This cult may have been a precursor to the Roman Mithras. Ancient Roman writers like Plutarch mention that the version of Mithras that the Romans would adopt was a popular deity among the Cilician pirates who infested the coastal waters of southern Anatolia and famously kidnapped Julius Caesar at one point. The Roman cult of Mithras likely took form during the 1st century CE, as Rome's elites and soldiers began to adopt it. Archaeologists have discovered imagery seen in later Mithraic shrines as early as the 1st century CE, but not the shrines themselves. This may suggest that Proto-Mithraism was present back then. However, it was not until the 80s CE and later that the first definitive Mithraic shrines, or Mithraea, appeared in the archaeological record. The remains of these Mithraea are widespread and have been found as far east as the Balkans and as far west as Germany, both of which were wholly or partially incorporated into the Roman provinces during antiquity. This is a remarkable geographic spread, which shows that whatever its origins may have been, Mithraism was already enjoying immense success by the 1st century CE. Mithraea also appear with high frequency in what is now Italy, Palestine, Syria, and France, showing the success of the cult and its appeal across the multicultural peoples of the Roman Empire. More importantly, Mithraism seems to have been popular among every social class in the Roman Empire, and was a bridge between the stratified rich and poor. While Mithraism was most famous for being a soldier's cult popular among Roman legionaries, wealthy patricians, civilian freedmen, and enslaved people were also members of the secret faith. While the influence of Mithraism was not so strong as to erode Rome's social stratification entirely, it seems to have spread across Rome's regions and classes with remarkable success. The Mithraea operated in local independent small cells of adherents and initiates, who practiced faith in these shrines. Their numbers were likely in the double digits, but these may have varied over space and time. By the 2nd century CE, some Roman emperors such as Commodus appear to have been initiated into the Mithraic cult. Some scholars have even gone as far as to suggest that some iconic Mithraic images and texts may have been allegories for a Roman imperial golden age and inspired by Virgil's texts praising the Roman Emperor Augustus, indicating that some Roman emperors co-opted Mithras' symbolism to project their own power and influence. Whatever the case, Mithraism was highly successful, reaching both the bottom and the top of Roman society. This appeal provided the funds and the converts for the faith to prosper for the next few centuries alongside Christianity, Judaism, Gnosticism, and the myriad pagan beliefs of Rome. So what did the followers of Mithras actually believe? This is more difficult to answer than it might initially seem, due to the paucity of written evidence, leaving us to make inferences based on the iconography in the archaeological remains of Mithraic shrines. it appears that Mithraism centered around some manner of birth myth for the god Mithras. This event is only known from reliefs and statues, in which Mithras seems to spring forth out of a rock. Mithras is also credited with the creation of humans by having them grow out of a tree, but little else is known about that particular story. In another myth, Mithras appears to use a bow and arrow similar to the Greek sun god Apollo, which he uses to strike at a mountain, out of which water springs out. All these tales are definitely parts of the life and adventures of Mithras, but the order in which they happened eludes modern historians to this day. Mithras is not the only god who appears in Mithraic shrines. Another deity visually depicted in Mithras's place of worship is a lion-headed man holding a key and coiled around by a snake. The identity of this being is a mystery, but many scholars have connected him to the Titan Kronos from Greek mythology, or the evil god Ahriman from the Persian Zoroastrian faith. Other gods found in Mithraea across the Roman Empire include Eros, the god of love, his wife, the deified Princess Psyche, the sun god Sol, and the Greek goddess of magic, Hecate. Naturalistic imagery of animals such as birds and dogs often appears in the iconography of Mithraea. Although we have little context as to why these deities are present in Mithras's places of worship, they nonetheless represent windows into a mysterious religion which was as diverse as it was enigmatic. The most famous and well-discussed scene in Mithraic iconography is the so-called Tauroctony, which is Greek for the slaying of the bull. In this image, the most common in all of Mithraism, the god Mithras is standing over a large bull while wearing his signature Phrygian cap. The bull is held by his face, as Mithras slays him by stabbing a sword below his neck. Mithras is staring upwards, sometimes at the sun god Sol, while he is surrounded by other animals. A dog and a snake lie beneath the fatal wound, trying to lick the blood of the fallen bovine, while a scorpion is latched onto the scrotum of the bull. While modern historians can confidently conclude this bull-slaying scene had symbolic value, what precisely it meant has been subject to speculation. Some scholars believe it symbolized the prophecy that predicted the coming of a Roman Golden Age. 19th century scholars like Franz Cumont believed this represented a Romanized version of a Zoroastrian myth in which the evil god Ahriman slays the primordial bull Gavai-Vodata, but this is currently a minority view among the modern academic community. Most scholars focus on the association of Mithras with the skies and time. Consequently, they consider the animals in the bull-slaying scene to be representations of astral constellations, and for the scene to represent some sort of passage of time. These interpretations usually assert that the depiction of Mithras slaying the bull represents the change of seasons via the equinoxes, or the solstices, and that there is some sort of connection to the planets known to the Romans. This interpretation varies from scholar to scholar, but emphasizes that members of the Mithras cult considered their order to possess significant astrological powers. Now that we have a structure of how the Mithraic cosmos was likely structured, we will move on to the structure of the cult and what their day-to-day activities looked like. From the scant scriptural records that have survived from ancient times, it appears as if Mithraism had 7 ranks of initiation, through which one had to rise in order to be initiated into the secret cult. In order of ascension, these ranks were Corax, meaning raven, Nymphus, meaning bride, Miles, meaning soldier, Leo, meaning lion, Perses, meaning Persian, Heliodromos, meaning courier of the sun, and Pater, meaning father. Each of these ranks had its own initiation rituals, but we know little about them. The cult appears to have been exclusively male, as no female names are found in inscriptions at Mithraic archaeological sites. The architecture of the Mithraea often resembled caves due to their connection to the god, making them literal man-caves. However, archaeologists have discovered communal meal structures near the Mithraea, which were open to women as well, suggesting that women participated in community feasts linked to the cults. Excavations in various Mithraea, from Syria to Rome to Germany, have revealed many animal and plant remains, with sheep, goat and chicken bones being especially prevalent. In addition, large amphorae and drinking cups have also been found in large numbers. Thus, Mithraism may have had some sort of offerings or ritual meals that were connected to the deity. Some scholars have suggested that some rituals involve the use of hallucinogenic plants, but this is difficult to prove with the current plant remains or texts. Thus, we can attest that Mithraism was a community religion, despite its secrecy and its small number of actual initiates in the various cells across the Roman Empire. There also exists evidence of Mithraic rituals taking place outside of the Mithraea, found in the Greek Magical Papyri, which were found in Egypt and span the whole period of Roman control of the region. These papyri contain many spells for the average citizen to use, from curses to use on your boss to making people fall in love with you. These spells are drawn from a vast array of multicultural deities and cast with the help of Greek, Egyptian, Roman, Persian, and even Jewish and Christian figures. Mithras appears in some of these spells, where he is usually linked to his solar counterparts Apollo and Helios. However, the most important text revolving around Mithras is the mysterious Mithras Liturgy. This text is of unclear affiliation. Some academics consider it to have no connection to Mithras' worshippers, while others consider it to be one of the actual Mithraic liturgies. The text is a prayer, in which the seeker hopes to ascend to achieve mystical knowledge and enlightenment. The epic journey of the prayer takes its readers through the lower heavens and through gods such as Ion and Yahweh. It then reaches Helios himself, and beyond through 7 celestial gates, with celestial virgins and the 7 bull-headed pole lords. Eventually, the readers reach Mithras himself as the highest god and achieve enlightenment itself in a climax of truly astronomical proportions. Whatever the affiliation of the actual Mithras liturgy, it reveals a truly dynamic reception of the figure of Mithras and his power in the Greco-Roman world. Mithras and his cult were thus deeply embedded in Roman society in all its forms, from the structured initiation rituals of the cult to the mundane spells of everyday life. Mithraism entered into the zenith of its popularity in the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE. But it was also during that era that its main competitor and eventual vanquisher was rising in prominence. By the 400s CE, the popularity of the Mithraea had begun to dwindle, with some of them being destroyed and some of them being abandoned. Many reasons have been put forward for this. One of them is that the shift to Christianity caused the decline of Mithraism. This factor may have had various consequences. For instance, Christianity's theology took on functions of imperial support, previously held by Mithraism. Moreover, Christianity was also much more open than Mithraism. Whereas Mithraism was a secretive and exclusive religion, Christianity proselytized openly and tried to get as many people as possible into their flock. Some Mithraea in the frontier provinces of the Roman Empire were attacked by Germanic and Gothic raiders and destroyed, which could have contributed to the decline of the cult in that region. It is also important to note that Mithraism was built around social networks of patrons and participants. As other faiths like Christianity took over more patrons and community functions, Mithraism likely declined due to lack of interest. The end of the faith was thus due to a confluence of political, economic, and cultural reasons. Some Mithraea survived until the 4th and possibly the 5th century CE. However, by the late 400s CE, it appears that Mithraism fully died out, its god disappearing like a sunset spark, and the bull moving back into the stars of the zodiac. However, it was not forgotten. Christian polemical accounts preserved its memory in a strange, ironic twist of fate. 1,000 years later, Mithraic imagery was used in the classical revival of the Italian Renaissance, which fascinated many Renaissance people. Eventually, Mithraism was rediscovered in the 19th century by historians, archaeologists, and even occult practitioners. Ever since this rediscovery, this most enigmatic of Roman religions has fascinated humanity and has produced some weird conspiracy theories on the side. However, it has also impacted the cultural zeitgeist, through its image being present in series like The Expanse. Thus, though he is no longer a competitor to Christ, Mithras and his religion continue to fascinate humanity through its art, mysterious nature, and elaborate initiations and community rituals. And thus, the story of Mithras as a Roman god ended. It was a short-lived religion in comparison with others that preceded and succeeded it. However, in its short life, it managed to produce incredible art and culture, enriching the religious landscape of the Roman Empire. Mithras's name, borrowed from an enemy empire, became synonymous with martial and secretive rituals, with the slaying of cosmic bulls and with lion-headed companions. Mithras is like a historical dawn or dusk, brief but illustrious. And though Mithraism is not a major religion anymore, it still is a fascinating example of cultural creativity and elaborate ritual sophistication. Next time you look up at the night sky, look at the zodiac. In those massive constellations, you will see an eternal Tauroctony, with Mithras as a protagonist. The fact that the zodiac is so closely linked to Mithras that we can conceive of it as such is perhaps Mithras's greatest victory against the forces of history. More videos on the religions of the ancient world are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see them. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. It helps immensely. Our patrons and YouTube members can watch more than 200 exclusive videos. Join their ranks via the link in the description or by pressing the join button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.